Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the tools, advice, and strategy you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now, on to this week's show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. As always, I'm Josiah, and in the co-pilot seat, as always, is Travis Ross. I don't know why co-pilot. I think we both fly this thing equally, but I like the term co-pilot. It seems fancy. So, Travis, how's it going, man? How has your week been going? We record this on a Wednesday. Our episode with Chris Green dropped today as we record this. I'm looking forward to the feedback. And for the listeners, listen, if you think that the entertainment and information is over when the outro hits, I encourage you to just listen to the whole thing. Okay, because there's going to come a time, and Travis, we've talked about this, there's going to come a time when we put stuff at the end of either the YouTube video or the audio versions, and we'll do a contest. You know, like, hey, what happened at the end of that episode? And the first person answered it correctly gets some kind of incentive. I don't know. They come and talk about a point of interest. Who knows? I'm just, a stream of consciousness right now. But don't short sell the end of the podcast, because we have a lot of fun the whole way through, front to finish.
Yeah, I don't know, like so far we haven't have had anything that was recorded that was worthy of adding on to the end, but sure, it's early.
Yeah,
it's early. Who knows what's going to happen?
There's lots of outtakes, because when we record these things, because the software we use, like, we can't necessarily hit stop and then re-record. It's kind of like you record what you want and then you export the files. So we keep it recording as we're transitioning, and we're just bantering and talking. And sometimes there's some gold in there that may or may not end up in the end. Yeah, audio gold that may or may not end up in the end of the episodes. But that aside, Travis, how's it going, man? It's good to be chatting with you once again here on the Print on Demand Cast.
Yeah, man, it's going good. We're things are really moving along. We're actually getting ready to transition to a new. We're moving to Microsoft 365 for our domain and all of our internal communications and stuff. So we've got that kind of happening. We're migrating from where we've used Google Docs and Dropbox and Slack and Wasabi and all of these different, things. We're moving them all. We're going to centralize them all, in our email and all of that stuff.
So the company email is going to be like Outlook, like that kind of thing. Is that kind of the vibe? Since it's Microsoft 365, or what does that mean when you say we're bringing it all into one place?
Yeah, it's they have a thing called Teams with it that kind of brings all of that in with you have channels, and it's kind of like Slack, but then also in there's like a planning tool, so you can have kind of, if you've ever used Trello, you can have kind of that style of project management, and you can there's just a whole lot of functionality in it. Everybody will have their own email, everybody has their own personal space, everybody has their own, we have a huge bucket of shared space for the whole company. And then, there's just
Nice.
there's a lot that there's a lot that I don't know about, like I don't know that I don't even know. And I'll learn as we go. And I was just
exactly.
telling my production manager, there's going to be a lot of pain points, along the way. But I think the benefits of having this kind of the centralized system and having everything under one banner is worth some of those pain points.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's kind of the newest thing we're doing. And everything else is just moving along. How about you guys over there at What For Apparel?
Hey, man, we're doing well. We are starting to onboard a lot of Etsy shops, actually. We have kind of found some success in reaching out to folks and kind of fulfilling their catalog that's existing, but then also saying, hey, we want to bring on, we have signs, we have all this other stuff that you're not offering. And we're finding some success there. Of course, as with anything, right? It's like, it's cool that you get the account, but then the proof is in the pudding. And so we'll see, they can say that they'll move this much a month or whatever, but it really is. And unfortunately it's not, I don't like to categorize it as cynicism necessarily, but it's like a reserved, it's just kind of managing expectations. We talk about that a lot on the show. And so it's like, I'm super excited, but I've allowed myself before to get super stoked and like, oh, this is going to be the one that just takes us to the moon, Alice, but it's not, it just doesn't pan out necessarily the way that you think it's going to. So, but yeah, we're doing a lot of that. And same thing, kind of, we're looking at bringing on and implementing some systems that will help with the production flow, and bringing on, help to pull inventory and looking at different RIP softwares other than just Garment Creator, looking at Cathari, and the benefits that can add, cool. and how we can streamline the process to where, as we've talked about a little bit on the show, and a little peek behind the curtain into, more personal stuff, but I'm looking at relocating from Colorado and not being necessarily in, the headquarters of What For Apparel. So how can we do stuff that will help streamline processes when I'm not here, and what systems can we implement to make things
can't
smoothly?
You can't, it does not work. You have to stay in Colorado.
It's not possible. Technology hasn't advanced that far to where remote working is possible.
Exactly. It won't work.
So yeah, man, a lot of the same and new accounts, coming online. Another local grocery store that we are going to start doing their employee uniform, shirts and long sleeves and hoodies. And so that'll be cool. Cause as they hire, we'll be producing their shirts, and they hire weekly and they hire a lot. So that'll be cool. So yeah, man, things are moving and growing. And, but again, it's like, you constantly have to refine the systems, and it's like hard because your instinct is to want to perfect the system before you actually like implement the system into making it work. But then you realize, like, if there's nothing to use the system for, then you've built a cool system, but you haven't got any like customers to use the system. And then it's like, it's definitely a balance, and kind of throwing stuff at the wall and see what works, and growing. And of course, our favorite word, pivot, on the show as you continue to grow the business. So, man, things are going well. I'm excited for episode 34 of the Print on Demand cast, getting closer to that 1 year episode that we're going to tease. And then when it gets here, we'll have no idea what we're doing for it.
it's still like more than 20 episodes out, and you're referencing it. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
But
just laying the seeds, expectations of like, man, we can't miss this year episode. So really the pressure's on us that we're just going to have to deliver something really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's going to be.
But in the meantime, we wanted to take a minute on this show and actually say thank you to those of you who have reviewed our show.
Yes.
We get a lot of feedback from people, in the Facebook group, which you should obviously go join, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. But thank you to those who actually took the time and went and reviewed the show. We have a 4.9 out of 5 stars with 16 total reviews on the Apple Podcasts platform.
Yeah.
And then we have 4 5-star reviews where the people took the time to actually write out a review.
Yeah.
Josiah, why don't you share one of those reviews that we were laughing about before we pressed record?
Yes, we went and checked the Apple feed and saw some reviews. And let me just first reiterate what Travis is saying. It's really cool to see reviews coming in and people taking time to actually type stuff out and tell us how much they're enjoying the show. And the prevailing theme of most of these reviews is great information, fantastic dad jokes. So, and I can't say that they're wrong. So this particular person said, I just ran across this podcast today via a Reddit post. Awesome info. Please keep it coming. Love the fact of the day. And I LOL'd, which is laugh out loud for all of you non-Gen Zers out there. I LOL'd at the Friends pivot reference and a laugh cry emoji and a heart emoji, and the username was Brijets, is what I'm assuming, BRIJETZ. And for you, Brijets, we are going to one more time give you a Friends pivot reference with a soundboard. Maybe.
Pivot!
Oh yeah, there it is. There's 2 of them. 2 pivots. Technology. Okay. That'll be fixed in post, probably not. But Bree, there it is. We played it twice, whether you heard it or not. We apologize for our lagging technology, but thank you so much for being a part of the show and reviewing. And guys, if you're out there and you're listening, it means so much to us to have you leave a review, whether you write it or just leave it on the Apple Podcast page. It's completely up to you. But it definitely helps our algorithm. It helps us get in front of the right people. If you feel like this is information that other people need to know about, please spread the word. Like I said, it means a lot to Travis and myself. So we want to transition. The point of interest this week is a lot in kind of that same vein about podcasts and YouTube and books and that kind of stuff. But this week, for the point of interest, we want to encourage you, the listener, to continue your education.
Point of interest.
Travis, what does that mean when we say continue your education? Are we talking about secondary? Are we going secondary education? Are we talking about master's degrees? What education are we talking about?
We want everyone to get their doctorate. No,
Yes.
What we're talking about is it is just there's so many people that we've got these computers, in our pockets that we, walk around with. We call them cell phones, but they're really just computers, and they have so much data, being able to store on them and stream from them. And so, when you're at the park walking your dog, or you're at the gym, running on the treadmill or whatever, what are you doing to, or you're in traffic, on your commute, what are you doing to continue your education? A lot of people, they're listening to music, they're listening to the funny DJs or whatever, but you have in your pocket the ability to stream information from some of the brightest people on the planet. There's so much information on the internet through YouTube videos and different podcasts and stuff like that. That's really what we mean. Like, take these opportunities to jump into the stream of information that is available to get better at what you're doing, whatever that is. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be print on demand. It doesn't necessarily just have to be printing. It could be, there's all kinds of things that you could get better at and educate yourself. There's just a glut of information, out there. And so that's really what we wanted to encourage you guys with, is just to not waste time. When you get off work, don't just go sit on your couch and turn on Netflix. Think about how you're going to use that evening to get better at something, And obviously you don't need to be working all the time and watching YouTube videos all the time, but don't be ashamed about that. Jump in there. There's good stuff there. So there's all kinds of places you can, continue your education. And we've had a lot of experts, if you will, particularly in the print on demand arena and just business in general, on our podcast. And we've only had 34 episodes, and hardly, I don't know, probably 30% of them maybe have been interviews. And yet there is so much content from the people we've had on our episodes.
Yeah.
Right, Josiah?
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
100%. I think if there's an interview that you've missed, I would encourage you to go back in the archives and listen to it. Even if there's an interview that you listened to one time, I would still encourage you to go back and re-listen to it, because there's so much you can gain from a second or maybe even a third listen that you missed the first time. But to Travis's point, there's a wealth of knowledge in the interviews that we've done so far, even though it's 25, 30% of the episodes of the Print on Demand cast. We've had a lot of awesome people with a lot of really beneficial information that you can avail yourself to. When I'm working here at my desk, I will turn on a YouTube or a podcast and just listen as I work. And then, you can have it in while you're working, whatever you're doing, while you're driving, if you DoorDash, whatever it is. Plenty of opportunities where you can kind of just feed your mind while you're going about your day. A couple of ways to do that. We're going to talk about 3 primary ways that you can avail yourself of things on the information superhighway, as I will now refer to the internet as. Books is one of them. We had Chris Green on in our last episode, and he was telling us about all of the books that he's written and all of the books that he has available. And there's audiobooks. There's traditional paper books. There's Kindle. There's Apple Books. I mean, you can get your book however you want. But books are huge. We know that Chris Green has a lot of books that you can learn from. And Brittany Lewis from Be a Wolf Biz, who is on our podcast as well, has books available. So avail yourself of that, because, again, it's just fantastic information. The second way you can find it, Travis, is YouTube.
Yeah, we obviously started our YouTube channel, and a lot of that is for those who like to consume their content on YouTube. It's the same right now. It's the same content that you're getting here on the podcast.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean that we won't come out with a few extra things for the YouTube user.
YouTube exclusive stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, and like how to sublimate a coffee mug, or some of those things that it's a little easier to do with a video. So we'll definitely do things like that. But a couple other people that we've been on their show, they've been on our show. Helen Kinson does the Merch Money podcast. She does a YouTube, big Facebook group. It's all about merch by Amazon and print on demand, and so. She'll eventually be on our podcast.
I think she was the first. She was the first kind of, I don't know, media, for lack of a better term, or whatever, to kind of promote the show that we went on quite a while ago, and it was a really good time. And it'd be great to have Helen on.
Yeah,
as well.
We'll have her on.
Her YouTube channel is Merch Money, right? Is that the name of the channel? Okay, awesome.
Exactly. And then you got RJ Martinez. He was on, I don't know, several weeks ago. RJ Hustles. He does a lot of KDP, a lot of merch by Amazon. And then, of course, Michael Essick has an incredible YouTube channel and a Facebook group and the whole 9 yards. He has a lot of great stuff. He was on a few weeks ago as well. And then you have other people that are doing podcasts. We talked about Brittany having a book, but she literally came on our podcast and then a few weeks later launched her own podcast. So perhaps what she was doing was reconnaissance on our show when she was on our show, but totally, I'm a kid, because she's awesome. And I'm very happy that she's fantastic. In fact, I was listening to her podcast today. I was listening to her podcast, which is called Wolf Moves Only, referring to her brand, Be a Wolf.
I'm really glad that I didn't ask her the question I wanted to ask her, and I kept looking at her business name because it was all like no spaces. I thought it was Beowulf, and I thought it was some epic like Nordic reference to some badass woman. You know what I mean? I'm like, tell us about Beowulf, and she would have been like, it's Beowulf, and then I would have been like, Mark, had 13 minutes and 20 seconds. Josiah made an ass of himself. Just cut that right out. But I completely avoided that trap. Thank God.
Did.
So yeah. Okay.
So instead, it's this week's episode. It's 1756. So, all right.
But
moving on.
Leave that in. I willingly offered this information about a potential trap that I fell into. But yeah, Brittany Lewis, Wolf Moves Only, just launched the podcast. And she was on, I'm trying to see what episode she was on. It was very, very business. Episode 31 was Brittany's episode here on the Print on Demand cast. Another person who has been on the show, a PODcast alumni, for lack of a better term, Robin Johnson with the Market Blueprint podcast. Now, Robin was our first guest that we had right before the beginning of season. Yeah, it was episode 20. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you haven't been listening to the podcast very long, if you just have come on in the last few episodes, and a lot of times some of those earlier episodes just kind of fall by the wayside. I'll tell you what, Robin Johnson's episode 20, her podcast, she is super smart, wealth of information. Check out that show. It was really good and full of really great information. Robin Johnson has the Marketplace Blueprint podcast, and I think she has an associated YouTube, although I don't know how often she updates that. She's doing a lot of consulting with Amazon businesses and just in general knows how business works. So episode 20, go check it out.
Yep. And then the last one we have here on the list. And again, I just want to preface what we're saying here with this is just the people we've had on our show. There's so many other resources, so many other content creators who have such amazing insight to business, to self-improvement, whatever it is. Like Travis said, it doesn't necessarily have to be print on demand business, whatever you want to be better in or excel in personally, business-wise, there's so much out there. So please avail yourself. The last one that we have on our list is Adam Schneider. Now, Adam was on episode 25 on the Print on Demand cast. And his podcast is called Sales on Demand Show. We were on that show as well. We kind of did a give and take. We were on his show. Then we immediately recorded an interview for our show, which was a lot of fun. But Adam's a great dude. Lots of information. And every one of these people that we're telling you about is going to have something that works for you, something you can take and apply. And maybe there's some stuff that doesn't. But there's so much to gain from all of them in general that I value. I would encourage you to avail yourself of all of the content and see which one vibes with you, which one you like, which one you don't, what you can use and what you cannot use. But there's so much out there.
Right. Yeah. I think, it all boils down to what you're going to do with kind of that idle time, and we have so many options, particularly in the US where we're at right now, there's so many options, with this computer that we all carry around in our pocket at all times. It used to be, if you forgot your wallet, you'd go home. Now, if you forgot your cell phone, you go. And just recently, now it's if you forgot your mask, you'll go home. So we just keep adding things that we have to have at all times. But my point is like, what are you doing during those lull times? Those the times when you could be kind of spacing away or watching a show or just whatever, sitting idly by. Do yourself a favor and just be a continual learner. And we just wanted to kind of give you some resources. So if you are looking for more information, particularly in the print on demand space, go check out these people that we've had on our podcast. They have other things that you could that could benefit you.
100%, absolutely. And also, we know that you enjoy this show because you are currently listening to us in your ears or watching us with your eyes. So the best way to support the podcast right now is to like the show, subscribe to our show, both on YouTube and in whatever podcast platform you prefer to use, and leave a review and join our Facebook group. Right now, that's really the best way to support the show. It helps us, and it improves our metrics and gets us in front of the right eyes. Please take the time to do that. It would mean a lot to Travis and I. I know that it might come off as, this whole last point of interest segment was just to lead to this really shameless plug and shill. And I will tell you that you're half right. We had your interest. It's one part your interest and one part self-interest in complete transparency, but it makes a really good cocktail. Okay. So you just go and like our show and subscribe and give us a 5-star review for the dad jokes alone, like I just made right there. Again, printondemandcast.com/Facebook is the best place to go to join the group. And I'm having a lot of fun seeing people pop in and say hi and welcoming. I like the idea of welcoming the new members. You did that the other day for a guy that joined the Facebook group and kind of shouted him out. I like that idea. I think it's really cool. Again, the goal is just to build a community of people that want to help each other and want to just continue growing and continue your education.
Yeah. So thank you to those of you who have taken the time to review it, and just encourage you all, the rest of you, to do that. So, all right. Awesome. That's great. That's the point of interest for this week.
Yes.
Let's move on to the main event of the episode.
Main event. It's the main event.
Yeah, the main event of this episode is vendors. More specifically, we're going to compare some different vendors here. We've got a couple different categories of vendors. Vendors being people who you go to purchase, the blank products, whether it's shirts or mugs or whatever. We're going to get to all of it, but we're going to start. Go ahead, Travis.
Well, I was just going to say the reason we're doing this, because, you're like, oh boy, we're going to hear a list of vendors. Ooh, that sounds like a great time.
I just subscribed and I'm unsubscribing. I've been hoodwinked. Damn it.
Exactly. So the reason we're doing this is because I am in a lot of different groups with, people who are at all different levels of the print-on-demand journey. And I often hear, hey, I can't find this one particular style of shirt anywhere. And I'm like, well, where have you looked? And they're like, well, I looked at, jiffyshirts.com. And I'm like, okay. Right. Well, what about this, and this? And they're like, oh, I didn't know about those,
Yeah, exactly.
And so while a lot of people could potentially just do a Google search and find all of the content that we're going to share here in a minute,
sure.
we also have a unique perspective because we've used most of these companies that we're about to talk about. So,
right.
So we're just going to give you, some different, like Josiah said, some different categories and some options. So if you are doing this yourself, if you're, starting to sublimate coffee mugs, or you're starting to print T-shirts, or you're starting to sublimate shirts, or whatever you're doing, you're starting kind of your own production. This can give you kind of a nice list to at least reference when you're ready to take the next step. Sure. So a lot of these, I will also say the caveat on a lot of these companies, not all of them, but a lot of them, they do require that you have an EIN, which is what is that? What is the employee? It's the employee
identification number. Yeah. Which is usually associated with an LLC of some sort. You have to register with your respective state to get that information. So that's one thing. I don't know if jiffyshirts.com. I think that is actually a legitimate site, right? jiffyshirts.com. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they necessarily require that, but as Travis said, I know that the majority of these folks that we're about to list do require that, which, if you're going to make a next step and kind of do it all in-house and kind of create a business, I guess you might have an EIN already, or that's a step you're going to have to make as you kind of grow it into a bigger business as a whole. So that's definitely the caveat of the two. So the first category we're going to talk about is apparel vendors, shirts, hoodies, hats, jackets. Some of these folks even have, bags and stuff like that, tote bags, what have you, a lot of odds and ends stuff as well. But we're going to start with TSC Apparel. Now, TSC Apparel, I know we use for apparel, we use those guys almost exclusively for a couple of reasons. You've used them in the past. Is that your primary, or is it kind of like a secondary provider for you guys?
It's becoming more and more. We're trying to utilize them more. The issue is that we have a couple of products that we can't get from them that they don't sell.
Sure.
And so our goal always when ordering, as I'm sure yours is to get above the free shipping threshold,
exactly,
which is $200. And so, when you have to buy certain things at another place, even if TSC has them, I may end up buying them from the other place to increase my cart value to get that free shipping.
Yep.
So it really depends on how much we need to order.
For. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know for us, the appeal of TSC, and I'm sure it's the same for you, is they have a warehouse here in Denver. They have warehouses
Right.
located across the country.
Yeah, I actually drove to the TSC warehouse today to get an order for a
did
local
ya?
guy
That's
because we
awesome.
had placed an order literally, and then 30 minutes later he emailed me and said, "Hey, I need 12 of these things and I need them by Friday." And I'm like, "Well, we just ordered. I'm not going to get up to that $200 threshold with another order.
Right.
So I'll just go pick it up, and
Yeah.
it's 20 minutes away. So I just,
Yeah.
went and grabbed something and ate my lunch as I drove over and picked it up. So that's definitely a benefit, to have them local.
Yeah, it's a huge benefit. They have warehouses in Portland, Moreno Valley, Denver, Houston, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia. So they are pretty well. They've got a lot of different warehouses scattered about. But the benefit for us for the Denver warehouse is if we have an order or we have some stuff, like you said, you want to get that free shipping, right? So we usually will kind of wait until we have enough to place an order from TSC and get everything in. But whatever is from Denver, we know will be here next day in the shipping. If we place it before, I think 5:30, it's next day delivery, which is huge. So that's really, really beneficial because it helps cut our times down. The other places, I think, depending on where you're located, of course, is probably 3 to 4 days, business days delivery if you're getting it from California or Philadelphia, kind of the two extreme coasts. But that's why we use them a lot, and they do have a lot of brands at their disposal. One brand they don't have right now, but they're bringing back is Bell on Canvas. I'm not sure why they made the decision at the end of the year to drop Bell on Canvas totally and move to Next Level, but I think they got enough feedback from enough people that they're talking about bringing Bell on Canvas back into regular rotation, which is great.
Nice.
Because like you said, for our customers, for our people that we're doing print on demand for, it's like, well, you can offer Bell on Canvas in your store, but it's not our primary provider. We're going to have to get it from a Sanmar and S&S, and we're not going to pay the shipping for just the one shirt. So it's going to be a longer waiting time, So that's TSC. Travis, what's the next provider for apparel, or vendor rather, that we have on the list?
Another one that we use a lot because we do, we use Sanmar. So the first three of these four we use a ton. So TSC we use a lot because they're local. Sanmar, who is another one that we use. Sanmar, I've found that Sanmar is about anywhere from 5 to 8 cents cheaper than TSC on a lot of products that they carry, which is interesting. So TSC has they have the Toltex line, which is like specifically TSC's line,
it's like
and then
the
they have what's the other one?
Like private label.
The ELO.
It was they did have ELO, but they've actually just merged it. So now everything that was ELO is Toltex Premium now. So ELO is kind of going away, and they've kind of just put it all under the Toltex umbrella, basically.
And then you've got on Sanmar, you've got their in-house brands are going to be Port and Company, which interestingly is, I believe, currently what Merch by Amazon is using for their standard T-shirt. I just kind of heard that. I don't buy Merch by Amazon shirts, but I think that's what's happening right now. And I know that for a fact that Merch by Amazon has gone through a lot of different vendors trying to find somebody that can keep up with their volume. So that makes sense that they would continually be changing. But right now they're using Port and Company. They also have District is another of their in-house brands, which is a really cool. We use a lot of their hoodies, District hoodies. I actually just found out today that Sanmar has a shirt, and let me see if I can find it real quick. This is really interesting. It's the District Perfect Try DTGT, and what it is a tri-blend tee that they have already pre-treated for you, which is really kind of interesting. So we have, so it's already been pre-treated, and they have, I think, 9 colors. That? I have not. I just found it today. I was very interested to find that today. And their pricing seems relatively good for an already pre-treated tee, and so I could see potentially in Q4 that could come in really handy to not have to pre-treat. Maybe just use it for just your black shirts.
Did you say it was a tri-blend? Is that what you said?
It It is. It's a tri-blend, yeah. But it's
Wow.
it's
Okay.
specifically for DTG. So
Sure.
I'm definitely going to bring some in and
Oh
try it
yeah,
and see how it
because
fits compared to
yeah,
some of our
because
other ones.
pre-treating a tri-blend on your own is a science. It's a recipe because of the high poly content. So yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
interested to see what the quality is once that is once they've pre-treated it. I know that
right.
Sanmar has as far as shipping locations, they have one in Seattle, Reno, Dallas, Minneapolis, Robbinsville, New Jersey, Cincinnati, Ohio, Jacksonville, Florida, and Phoenix, Arizona. So you will be able to get service pretty quickly, depending on
Hmm.
where you are. Here in Colorado, we're probably anywhere from 2 to 3 days from any of their warehouses, which is another reason
Usually
why.
it's Yeah, it's
Have you
usually
had
2 days from Dallas
two
for
days?
us.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
about as fast as we can get the Sanmar stuff from Dallas. If they have it in their Dallas warehouse, which is our
sure,
primary warehouse for
sure,
us.
sure.
Um, for the next company, S&S Activewear, um, they have a warehouse in Olathe that we've gotten next day, but we've also gotten in 2 days. So Olathe,
Okay,
Kansas is pretty close to us in Denver, but we've actually
sure.
got it next day. It's just, I think you have to kind of, there's a little bit of luck involved. I think you got to
Sure.
place the
Yeah.
order early enough in the day that it's able to be picked before UPS picks it up, and
Sure.
then you get it. You can potentially get it
Yeah.
next day. So actually, we did this morning. We placed a quick order and did a lot of stuff from Olathe, and we'll see if it comes in tomorrow. We'll know. But
Yeah.
both Sanmar and S&S Activewear have a $200 and TSC have a $200 minimum or free shipping threshold that you can hit.
Yeah.
And then we really like S&S Activewear. They have a lot of totes and a lot of different products. They have a ton of different hats. That's primarily where we get a lot of our hats from.
Sure.
And so we really do like S&S Activewear. Their pricing is on par with most things from Sanmar or
Sure.
like Sanmar. I would say of all three, Sanmar is probably the better priced on
Best
most
priced.
things that we buy.
Mhm.
Just if you have to like kind of across the board, but S&S is
Sure.
probably number two, where TSC is probably number three, and then we have number four is Alpha Broder,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, Alpha Broder closed their Denver warehouse. I was bummed out about that. They closed it, I think, a little bit before COVID hit, and they have
Mhm.
not reopened it, and I don't think they have any plans to. But that I was hoping that we could use kind of a combination of TSC and Alpha Broder to get that
Right.
1 day ship.
Right.
But yeah, so I have accounts, and I'm sure you do too. But we have accounts with all four of these because you never know when one company is going to be out. I was literally looking for a particular garment today. TSC and Sanmar were totally out. SS Activewear had all of the other sizes at one of their warehouse had plenty of stock. So
Yeah.
you just never know who's going to be in stock at what particular time. And so it's good to have a backup for your backup for your backup.
Sure. Contingency is the word of the day.
Yeah.
So after apparel vendors, we have substrate vendors for, of course, sublimation, blanks, and one that the first two are two that I know we've both used pretty frequently. I haven't had much experience with the last three, but the first one we have is Coastal Business Supply, and we've used them quite frequently for both, mugs and ink as well, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But they sell both, and their free shipping threshold is $149. So not as much needed to get your cart value up compared to the 200 of the the TSCs and Sanmars. But Travis, what's been your experience with Coastal as far as the blanks for sublimation?
Yeah. I've used Coastal. That was kind of my first, I think that was my first vendor that I found and used when I first started, sublimating in my basement. And Eric over there has been my rep since day one, and I have a good relationship with him. I used to buy boxes that had the foam inserts inside of them. We got those from
Right.
Coastal for a long time. And, I bought they have a lot of different things that you can buy for, I did some puzzles. I did a lot of testing things from them, some
Right.
picture frames, and So a lot of things that you can do on a flat press with sublimation. You can test out a lot of different products. They have a lot of that stuff. And like you said, we'll get to the ink too. I've used them for that. For Sawgrass, they sell Sawgrass printers and then all of that stuff too. They also sell, like an F2100. They're an Epson dealer, so you can actually buy machinery from them.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got our second one from Coastal, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Second F2100. So I think Eric has been our rep as well, I think. Yeah. So yeah, they do offer more than just blanks.
And then the other thing is that I'll also say that Eric over there has been very attentive to me. Like if I've called him on his cell phone before, right. So when I've had an issue or something like that, he's been very attentive. He's always trying to work with me and figure out a better price if he can, and just look into different things. So that's been it's been a good experience with Coastal. JDS is another one that we have bought a lot of coffee mugs from because we do. They basically it's not, at $99 you get free freight, and so I get a couple pallets of coffee mugs, and that saves a lot because they pay for the lift gate, and it comes right to my place. They put it on that lift gate, drop it down, put it on the pallet jack, and roll it in, and we're good to go. So really like JDS. We do a lot of our sublimation paper from them as well. And then also they have a ton of laserable products.
They're laserable product. We just got they send us their big thick catalogs, every quarter or what have you, and just putting paper to good use, I suppose. But it's massive, and their laserable products are really cool. Like there's a lot of stuff that looks like it would look fantastic, from the coffee tumblers to like the name tag, dog tags, ornaments. I mean, have you guys ordered some stuff to try out with those guys as far as the laserable stuff?
Yeah, we've ordered a lot of things to try out. One thing, there's a couple of products that we're actually, going to stock for our clients. And one of them is a 32-ounce Polar Camel water bottle. And it's a massive, it's a really good looking water bottle. As a matter of fact, our staff we did a NCAA bracket challenge, and one of our DTG tech, she actually won the whole thing. Carrie,
did she really? Carrie, so, I know. Yeah, Carrie, that's awesome.
She had no business beating me. I was second place, and I'm really pissed.
So her bracket didn't get busted at all, is what you're saying, or did she just predict
she didn't have
the
perfect bracket? But she didn't even predict the winner. She just won. The way it worked out, she had the most points. So for her. Okay. Her prize, I guess, we lasered one of these water bottles and just put like, all I do is win, on the side of it. And that's her trophy. That's awesome. It's better than a trophy. It's an actual water bottle she can use.
Yeah, use it, she uses it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, we do, they have a lot of, the leather patches that we do. We get those from JDS, and we do some tumblers that have leather on them, and there's some other things. We do some acrylic with our laser, although we get our acrylics elsewhere, but I'm just saying, like, JDS does have that. You can, we have a local supplier for the acrylic, but there's a lot of things that they have, a lot of really cool products, coasters, beer bottle openers. Yep. I mean, you name it, they've probably got it.
I was really surprised, to be honest, to see how extensive their laserable products are. I mean, there's a lot there. The other thing I like about Coastal and JDS as well, they both have kind of a instruction page, right? So when you buy the product, and I had to do this because we got our masks from them, we got puzzles from them, we got aprons from them, and of course, when you sublimate, everything's a different time and temperature. It's not kind of a one fix for everything. But on their websites, they actually have, like in JDS, when you go to a product, they have, the pricing info, stuff like that. But then they have instructions. You can actually click on that, and it will drop down, and they will tell you, here's the temperature, here's the time, here's the preferred tools to use, here's all that. So it's all there for you, which makes it a lot easier once the products arrive to you, as opposed to you burning through half of whatever you bought trying to get it right. And then they at least give you a good place to start. So I really appreciate about that appreciate that about Coastal and JDS. Travis, photo mugs is next on the list. I've never used photo mugs.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience in dealing with
Yeah.
photo mugs?
So Photomugs is a California company. So if you're in California, so the next three don't have any free shipping thresholds. So it's going to, depend on where you are, whether or not that's going to make sense for you. We do a few products with for Photomugs. That's where we get our camping mugs. The enamel black rim camping mugs.
Yep.
And then we get some other sublimatable drinkware. I think some water bottles and some beer steins and things like that. And
Sure.
and their prices are pretty good, so it almost can be a wash with the shipping that you end up paying. You have to watch that, and you have to consider that. But
Sure.
For us, it's worked out. We also get a lot of our colored inside and handle mugs there as well.
Yeah.
So that's Photo Mugs. Jodo USA is another place that, again, I have an account there because it's kind of a back, we can, it's a contingency plan. If somebody doesn't have something, it's another place we can get stuff. And as well as Johnson Plastics, it's JP Plus is their .com is their website. They also, like, for instance, Photo Mugs ran out of camping mugs during Q4. So we had to go to JP Plus, Johnson Plastics, and get them there. They were considerably more, but we had to get them. So it was just good to have those different accounts. Johnson Plastics also has a lot of UV supplies, a lot of UV substrates, things that, you can do. So, that's it's another place that you can go to and kind of browse their catalog and see if there's anything there that would work. They also have some sublimatable things as well. Of course, all of these places have sublimatable items, but they also maybe specialize in another particular kind of substrate. Substrate is just something you can print on or engrave, or it's the actual product that you're going to embellish. So that's when we say substrate, that kind of is a $5 word if you're just beginning, but that's what it means. So, all right. So moving on, unless you have anything else about the substrate vendors, Josiah, we can move on.
No. Yeah. Let's move on to the next category, which would be consumables vendors. Consumables meaning supplies, right? The stuff you're going to have to make any of this work, to print. We're talking about, sawgrass, inks, Epson inks, the pre-treat, the embroidery thread, the mug wraps, all of it. Again, a place we go, we've already referred to this in the first category, but Coastal has a lot of those inks, Epson inks. I know we've purchased both from Coastal before. Embroidery thread wise, you're looking at Madeira. But as far as pre-treat, Coastal sell pre-treat, or is that like All American Print Supply?
I think Coastal's selling the pre-treat. They sell the Epson pre-treat, but I do get we use Firebird pre-treat that we like, and get that from All American Print Supply or their sister company or alias, if you will, DTG Mart.
DBA.
It's basically the same company, but they have more of a screen printing focus on one side and more of a DTG printing focus on the other side. So we go to DTG Mart for that. You can also get your F2100 inks there from DTG Mart. And then another company that Pro Digital Gear, you can get a lot of the consumables there as well. And remind me after we're done recording, Josiah, to tell you about the conversation I had with one of the guys at Pro Digital Gear and some of the information I learned. They also sell equipment. And it's pretty interesting, some of the stuff that I learned about printing equipment and DTG equipment. So more to come.
All right, well.
And I just can't say it over the on the podcast. So there's so much involved in the print on demand world that kind of goes on behind the scenes. It's just you just never know what you're going to hear or overhear or kind of talk to a vendor about. And I'm always asking questions every time I have an opportunity to talk to one of these guys. I'm like, I literally, I stand up with my phone and I'm pacing back and forth because I just want to have a conversation, and I'm just thinking, and like, how much knowledge can I get out of these people and like learn from them? I'm constantly, back to our point of interest. I really want to know things. I really want to understand stuff. And so I'm always, have my ear to the, ground trying to listen.
Yeah.
So I had a really good conversation with the guy. I can't remember his name, from Pro Digital Gear, but I'll tell you what I learned afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all of this stuff really, particularly for consumables, is really going to come down to price and location, I think. Because like Epson ink is Epson ink. It doesn't matter if you get it from Coastal or DTG Mart or Pro Digital Gear. It's just Epson ink, So where can you get the best price? And Epson has they have kind of thresholds where they won't let the people that are selling their stuff go below. So there's some rules in place that Epson, they'll not allow people to sell their stuff if they break it.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to find, good pricing, but maybe you can get free shipping with one of these and not the other. So, just those are the things you really want to consider, I think, when you're looking at consumables.
Yep. Yeah, we mentioned Madeira. If you're getting into the embroidery game, and Madeira is kind of like the one-stop shop. They've got the scissors you'll need. They've got the bobbin thread. They've got the regular thread. They've got
every color known to man.
Every color known to man. Every color, every cone size. The little pliers you'll use to thread the machine, and then the needles that you'll inevitably stab your finger with when you're trying to replace them. They have those too, and they're very sharp. And so they have it all at Madeira. So that's kind of like the industry standard, I would say. When we were getting into embroidery, it was like, who do we go to for this? And to the person, it was like, yeah, Madeira is where you're going to want to go. The backing that you need for embroidery, all of it's there at Madeira. And like Travis said, it really does come down to, with all of these, pricing and location. And I'm sure there's more out there as far as vendors for this stuff that we may not have mentioned. So if you do know of another vendor that we're missing out on that has killer pricing or free shipping at a low threshold, whatever it is, printondemandcast.com/Facebook, join the group, join the conversation, and let us know what we missed. Travis, anything else about consumable vendors before we move on to the last category?
Nope. I think that speaks for itself. You just got to get it where you can, because you're going to consume it. That's why it's called a consumable.
Yes, exactly. And there's lots of things in the world of consumables. Phones are considered consumables now, which is crazy. Because people buy them.
You can't eat your phone, Josiah. I'm sorry.
I mean, you can't eat.
You could try.
You could. You can't eat bobbin threads. You can't eat scissors. You can't drink ink.
All right.
I feel like we're gonna have.
You're right. I'm wrong.
We're gonna have to put a disclaimer at the end of the beginning of this episode that we're not encouraging people to drink ink. So we're gonna go to packaging suppliers, and
we're moving real fast.
It's a blur. Blocked out for a second. So packaging suppliers, when it comes to sending the stuff to the customer, you got boxes to consider. You've got bubbles. Not bubble wraps, not Bubbles the chimp or Bubbles the soap thing that you blow through a wand. Bubble wrap is what you're going to need. Shipping labels, tape, packing tape, heat tape, all of it. There is one that we use quite frequently, and that's Uline. I think that's kind of, again, one of the industry standards. Like, yeah, people go to Uline. Yeah, so we both have used Uline, and you've used them for a myriad of reasons and shipping supplies, right?
Yeah, I mean, Uline is kind of the one that everybody talks about. That's the one that everybody tells you to go to. And I think probably a lot of our listeners that are doing things out of their house, they're probably using Uline in some way, shape, or form. We actually were really, really fortunate to connect with a local packaging supplier. And it's not actually just local. They actually are a national company. They just happen to have a branch here in Denver, but it's New Way Packaging. And if you do have a New Way, you might be able to, at least our New Way is able to beat Uline most of the time. And the relationship that we have with our rep allows us to get pretty much free delivery, because they have trucks that go out and deliver stuff. So whereas Uline, it's really hard. You almost always pay for freight or delivery with Uline. So it does benefit you to look around and like make some phone calls and get I need medium bubble, cut 12, perfed 12. What am I going to pay for that per roll? And take, and write down all of the answers that you get from the different places you call and compare it to Uline, and then add Uline's freight, and see who's going to get it to, and, it's just, you really need to do your homework to figure out, what size boxes are we going to use? What size poly bags? What types of poly bags? How many different sizes do we need? And where am I going to get, the best prices? A lot of people will also, if they're just talking about poly bags, they may just go on Amazon and buy some. But I would say that 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a better deal with a local supplier than what you're going to find on Amazon. Now, you may have to drive and go get it because they don't have a delivery or whatever. But maybe they do if you get to a certain volume. So it really does behoove you to go out and it behooves you to go out and check around and actually make these calls and do your due diligence to see where you can, save some money on packaging, because all that's doing is adding to your cost of goods. And that stuff, that 10 cents a bag or, extra that you paid because you wanted to do it on Amazon or whatever, that 10 cents or 15 cents per box or whatever, you sell a couple thousand items in a year. That's a lot of money that you didn't have to spend if you just would have taken the time to, call a few places around. So for us, it's New Way Packaging. We've got a great rep. He just drops by every once in a while and just, we talk and kind of, he's helped us create pack sizes for different products when we ship our different products into FBA. He's gone above and beyond. He's been really great. So hopefully you, the listener, can, find your rep for a package supplier that's in your, and he's going to, or he or she's going to go above and beyond for you. And that's what we kind of recommend, really kind of doing your homework, deciding between Uline, Amazon, and a local supplier.
Yep. 100%. I believe we use that same rep and that same company as well, because you actually made us aware of them. And I can tell you that he is fantastic, and he does a lot of, again, above and beyond kind of the call of duty of what you would expect a sales rep from a packaging company to do. So definitely do your research, price shop, see what's best for you. And it always feels good too, to just support a local business as well. So, Travis, anything else on this episode before we wrap it up and put a bow on it?
Nope, I don't think so. I think we bored the audience really well with all these vendors. But I do think it's good. It's a good thing to like have somebody who's used vendors kind of give you their assessment of them. So while it may be boring, I still think for some people it was definitely it was beneficial to have this information and kind of have this reference point for when they're ready to move to that next level.
Sure, absolutely. And if you're here, if you've survived, if you've stayed here and listened to the whole episode, you are the real MVP of the POD cast. So thank you guys so much for enduring the list of vendors. Hopefully it was educational and entertaining. That's what we always aim to do here on the POD cast. So as always, thank you guys so much for listening. Again, I'm going to plug printondemandcast.com/Facebook, because that's where this conversation can continue. If you have questions, if you need to point out that we've missed something, these conversations that Travis and I are having are open to you guys. And the best way to join these conversations is printondemandcast.com/Facebook. Join the group, the conversation, the community. We'd love to have you there. Again, we talked about rating, finding us on iTunes. Please rate and subscribe. 5 stars. I don't know who gave us a 4-star review, but we're going to find him and we're going to disconnect his RSS feed. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But no, 5 stars is preferable, but give your honest opinion. We welcome it, welcome any feedback, and we're available on all major podcast platforms as well. So until next time here on the POD cast, I'm Josiah. For Travis, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.